Spoiler alert for Star Rail up to 3.2 and speculation about the content of upcoming updates. Also, reminder, if you put leaks of any kind in my comment section, get the picture? In this game, the writers reveal information in deliberate ways at deliberate times to communicate very deliberate things, and learning these things outside of the way they intend actually makes it very difficult for me to theorize well, so my channel is not the place to talk about leaks. Thank you guys for understanding. Now let's get theorizing. Let me tell you a story. Long ago, there was a beautiful land, locked away from the rest of the universe and ruled by 12 gods. The gods each ruled a divine concept of the world: knowledge, justice, the elements, fate. But one by one, humanity claimed that divinity. With this power, mortals became heroes, performing great deeds, pushing back darkness to chase a better tomorrow. But this tomorrow was a lie. A prize near enough to reach for, but far enough to need to chase. Keeping the world following a predetermined script without understanding why, turning a key in a lock that would not hold forever. Eventually, the world shattered like clay, even the memory of it consumed until all that was left was a distant legend, one wandering ghost, and a blood-stained blade. If you clicked on this video, this story should already be familiar to you. In fact, the only thing that should be completely unfamiliar is the ending, that last sentence. I found this detail in a surprising place while researching something completely unrelated to Amphoreus, and what may surprise you most of all is that the story I just told you was not about Amphoreus at all. Hello internet people! Yes, 'tis I, back with an actual Amphoreus breakdown. You have been so patient with me over the last few months, which I really appreciate because I needed the break. I have unfortunately backed myself into a corner though, because I now have way too much I want to talk about. The Titan cycle, the Lord Ravager, the Flame Reaver, the implications Amphoreus has on how we understand everything in Star Rail, and I am running out of time to do it. So let's start now! Remember to leave a like and keep that subscribe button in mind as you watch. And as always, if you have your own thoughts, information you wish was included, or even if you disagree with this video, please kindly tell me about it in the comments. And now it's time for Amphoreus and how it redefines eternity.
7, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles a day, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before.
Let's start by making sure we're all on the same page about Amphoreus, because if I start trying to explain theories right now, half of it's gonna sound like actual Greek and the other half is gonna sound like Japanese. In the beginning of Amphoreus' recorded history, it was ruled by 9, yes, not 12, 9 Titans, who ruled earth, water, sky, passages, law, time, romance, reason, and world-bearing. I'll explain what that last one means as we go, and yes, I am gonna be using a timeline because it's gonna make no sense otherwise. According to legend, the world-bearing Titan Kephalu created the world, but the others helped out in their various ways. The suspicious lack of strife, death, and trickery in the list of Titans is because war, death, and deception simply didn't exist on Amphoreus for its first era of existence. It was a regular old Garden of Eden. The Titans used their divine gifts to help humanity, and the humans worshipped them in return. But then, the Calamity Titans attacked, raising the Titan total from 9 to 12 and bringing war, death, and sneakage into the world. The people of Amphoreus naturally did not like this, and I can't really blame them. I mean, come on, if you've lived your whole life without death and then you die, you're naturally gonna be a little ticked off. But they had several bigger problems to deal with. And when the god of death and their two buddies are the least of your worries, you know you're screwed. The first problem was the Black Tide, this sort of necrosis or corruption that drives sentient creatures insane. It started at the very edge of Amphoreus, so for a long time, people didn't need to worry. But fast forward 1,000 years, and well, even if something only ever moves at a snail's pace, let's just say if you give an immortal snail 1,000 years to go places, by golly, it's gonna get somewhere. One by one, Amphoreus' cities were completely taken over by it. A couple did try to resist. One even said, hey, guess what? We're leaving the planet to its fate and going to space. And to that, the Sky Titan Aquila said, hey, guess what? No more sun. The entire city of people who tried to Neil Armstrong their way out of the situation got zapped off the map, and Amphoreus now has no sun. Thanks for nothing, NASA. But Kephalu, the world-bearing Titans saved the day. They used their core flame, which is like a Titan's soul and where they get their power from, to reignite Amphoreus' mechanical sun, sacrificing theirself so Akama City would continue to have light. Fast forward to today, Akama is now the only place left for the Black Tide survivors to try and weather the storm. One last important thing to mention is a little before the time the sun went dark, our favorite holy maiden, Tribios, received a prophecy about how to defeat the Black Tide. It basically boils down to, you know those Titans you've been worshipping this whole time? Yeah, you need to kill them, take their souls, core flames, give them to special humans with gold blood, and they will bring a new era to Amphoreus like the eras before death. But the people around Tribios didn't like this, cause turns out the relationship between the Titans and humans was a little more parasitic than appearance would suggest. The humans had forced several Titans into submission to harness their divine energy. They say it was a mutual agreement, but this does not look, for lack of a better word, consensual to me.
Hurts. It hurts so much.
Does performing a miracle really subject them to that much pain?
And obeying this prophecy would mean giving up that power. But Tribios was in a similar position to the Titans, being used as a political pawn, so she did something about it. She stole the core flame of Janus, the Titan of Passage, freeing both them and herself, and became the first special human to claim a core flame and become a demigod. Demigods get special powers, like controlling elements, super speed, being blind but also very not blind, or in Tribios' case, splitting into a couple dozen psychically linked children. A trilling, trippy, triangular Tribioses trotted triumphantly. And they all ran off to spread word of the How to Stop the Black Tide for Dummies prophecy to the rest of Amphoreus. And since they were the ones who were actually being driven out of their homes, they were a lot more keen on stopping the Black Tide than some of the people in power. So these people heard the prophecy, were like, great, and then proceeded to make no progress on it for the better part of 1,000 years. I won't be too hard on them though, seeing as step 1 of the prophecy is literally to kill God. And on top of that, the special humans, aka Chrysos heirs, the only people actually able to claim core flames, are extremely rare. And even with those difficulties, they did get a handful of them in the past 1,000 years. Thank eons for Dawnhung and the Trailblazers showing up when they did though, because Amphoreus was not ready. In 3.1, we claimed the core flame of Strife, and in 3.2, we claimed Death, Reason, and Time. Combined with the few from before, that's now 10 core flames. And the only ones we're still missing belong to the Sky and Kefali's core flame, which is in Akama already. We just kind of have to, get our biggest political rivals who hate the demigods to hand it over. No biggie. But that isn't even the least of our worries, because as it turns out, in 3.2, we also learned something interesting about the prophecy. Turns out, it's already been fulfilled.
Don't look at what's in front of you. Boost, moving up and down again.
As I was preparing for this video, I noticed an interesting pattern that started long before Amphoreus. In fact, it's happened on every world we visited in-game. It goes like this. We go to a new planet, we're more or less welcomed, usually there's a crisis going on, but overall the sun is shining, the scenery is beautiful, and the locals are friendly. But the more beautiful something is, the darker the shadow it casts, and sooner or later we're unceremoniously thrown, usually by a masked fool, into the figurative, or more often literal, darkness that lurks beneath the beautiful surface. On Amphoreus, that happened in 3.2. Until then, all we knew was if a Chrysos heir claimed a core flame, they became a demigod, inheriting the power and authority of a Titan. They even spent all of 3.1 showing us this process with Mighty. But thanks to our resident feeble scholar Anaxagoras, we now know that our Titans, the ones we took the core flames from, weren't always Titans. And this is why I was so keen on using a timeline for this video. In the beginning of Amphorian history, Kefali created the world with the help of the other Titans, right? But as it turns out, Kefali wasn't exactly creating. They were recreating. Amphoreus existed even before that point, but all history of that era was completely lost because of an apocalypse. And the only survivor of that apocalypse was Kefali. Or should I say Chaos, because that's their real name. They are the only person alive who remembers the old era and used their memory of that era as a blueprint to create this one. This is what it means to be the world-bearing Titan, to carry the memory of a dead world to recreate it. In that old era, the Titan still existed, but Chaos wasn't a Titan. He was human. He became a Titan by hunting down the Titan of world-bearing in his era era and claiming the core flame of world-bearing for himself. Sound familiar? Chaos isn't the only one either. In the old era, our Circes was a scholar named Calypso. The Mad King Nikidor was a warrior named Naias, and Thanatos, Titan of Death, was none other than Polyxia, Castor's twin sister. All the present-day Titans were once something else. Not stone giants, balls of energy, or mutant mechanical monstrosities, just people who followed the very same prophecy we do, faced down their Titans and won. Because, as it turns out, a core flame doesn't just bestow power. It actually transforms their wielder into the new Titan. The Titans of today are the demigods of yesterday, and our demigod friends in this era will become Titans in the next one. But that right there is the problem. According to the prophecy, when the core flames are all claimed, the world is supposed to enter a new era, sort of like what it was before death, strife, and trickery. But the demigods of the last era already did that, and their era still not just ended, but was so thoroughly scrubbed from existence that the only trace of it left are the faintest ghosts of memories and one lonely god. And we're following the very same prophecy. The previous demigods believed they were saving their world just as much as we do, but there is no world in which anyone but the holder of Kephale's core flame survives this. The prophecy is a lie. Its purpose was never to save Amphoreus from the Black Tide. It was simply to make sure the core flames were passed off to a new generation of Titans so they'd be present in the next cycle, to keep the wheel turning. But why? What's the point of the Titans, the cycle, any of it? Why keep the wheel turning if it's not going anywhere? To answer that question, we need to look closer at the Black Tide and what Amphoreus actually is.
Count, 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 count the bullets in the bandoliers. If your eyes drop, they will get atop of you.
Let's talk about the name Amphoreus for just a second. In the 3.0 special program, and in a few programs since then, they pointedly told us that Amphoreus is named after an amphora. If you've opened up literally any book on ancient Greece in your lifetime, you've seen one of these. It's a distinctive looking jar. Some of them have drawings on them, you get it. Most of us also know the myth of Pandora's box. The first woman, Pandora, is given a box and told, hey, there's a bunch of bad things in here, don't open it. And since in every myth, the first woman always has poor impulse control, she opens the box. And the bad things get out. Famine, plague, war, all the things. But in the original myth, Pandora wasn't given a box. Instead, it was an amphora, a jar specifically made to contain something evil. And as of 3.2, we know Amphoreus is effectively a prison cell for a Lord Ravager. Who could have seen that coming? Little refresher, Ravagers are incredibly powerful emanators of destruction. Each of them has their own sort of specialty, but they all have an intense fascination with the various ways people, civilizations, and worlds can be ripped apart. They have detonated stars, driven civilizations insane, eaten fleets like cornflakes. Many of them don't even have recorded descriptions because there are no survivors left in their wake to describe them. Anyone who can lock these things away where they can't hurt anyone is gonna want to. But the big question is how? Because the Ravagers go way beyond even being walking natural disasters. One of them is literally called Sun Devourer, as in eats literal stars. Another one somehow converted an entire solar system into antimatter. In fact, the only way I can think of to contain a Lord Ravager is with time. Let's go back to the Titan cycle for a sec. We know that the Titans of this era were humans in the era before, and we can assume that the Titans from the last era were also human in the era before the last one, and back and back and back. It's a chicken and egg situation. Except I found something by complete accident that gives us another possibility. It's been the talk of the fandom lately that Anaxagoras, or Anaxa, is also the name of an in real life philosopher who philosophized about the concept of the mind, calling it nous. But I just happened to sit in on one of my sister's high school lectures in which she was learning about another Anaxa from history that I didn't know about, Anaximander. His philosophy is the unity of opposites. This idea that when it comes to concepts, opposites depend on each other, like yin and yang, or night and day. Day comes from night, and night comes from day. This day and night cycle is the main theme of Amphoreus right now. Currently, the world is effectively in a long night. Outside of Akama, the entire planet is just dark. But we know that in the past cycle, it was light, even when the prophecy was almost fulfilled, and they'd started to ascend to Titanhood. We'll probably learn more about this in 3.3, but given what we know right now, I think this cycle of light and darkness is is a regular part of the Titan cycle. It alternates every time there's a reset. Day, night, day, night. And then I took it a step further.
Boots, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war.
This is about to get very complicated. I've had to actually research physics to theorize lately, and I don't know how to feel about that. But I'm gonna do my best to explain. So the demigods of today are the titans of tomorrow, but what if they're also the titans of yesterday? Think about it this way. Mighty claimed the core flame of strife from Nias, and Nias claimed it from a titan before him. But what if Nias's titan was actually Mighty? What if in the next few updates, Amphoreus is wiped out again, Mighty ascends to titanhood as Nikador, and 1,000 or so years down the line, the special human who comes along to continue the cycle is none other than Nias. And believe it or not, there's evidence for this. This is where the physics comes in. Take a look at Amphoreus from the outside again. It's an infinity symbol, right? You might want to look again. This is a freaking Mobius strip. In media, a Mobius strip is often used as shorthand for time travel, but I need to show you something.
Welcome to my teaching demonstration, Emma sweatshirt reveal. Subscribe to Technoblade. Here's the thing I want to show you. The thing about the Mobius strip that's so freaking cool is that it only has one side. If you take a pen and draw a line following the shape around, you will eventually end up back at the beginning where you started. Let me just show you. Let's say we start right there. And go all the way around. No, I'm not flipping it. I promise. I'm gonna show you this whole thing because I don't even see it. Just turn it. There. There we go. See, somehow we've crossed over to the opposite side of the paper. It's bleeding through a little bit there, but that's the opposite side of the paper now. But then, if we go all the way around, we end up right there, back at the beginning. See that? Right where you started. Even though you don't have to lift your pen, I just kind of have to because I don't have a solid surface to set this on. But I'm going to go a level deeper. Let me just quickly make a new one. See, tape the other side. There we go. Fresh Mobius strip. Ta-da! So let's take this Mobius strip I've just made, and I'm gonna mark it by putting a paper clip here. Ta-da! You see it folds over on both sides. Let's say that this paperclip is marking an event on the timeline, like a core flame being claimed. I'm gonna use this time so it doesn't bleed through. Now, if we start, I'm not gonna start here. I'm gonna start a little further down the line, like right there. Ta-da! So if I draw around the thing just like before. Right, turn the spiral just a little bit so I have more space to draw. That would be interesting. There we go. Aha. So there we go. You see, we've now intersected with the point on the timeline. This is where the core flame is claimed, right? So now we've intersected, and now a core flame is claimed. But now let's keep going to where we begin the cycle again. Keep going. Keep going. Where are we? Keep going. There we go. Okay. So we're here, and we're only halfway done, because that's where the cycle begins. We're now on the opposite side. So we're at the point where the cycle begins, but on the opposite side of the paper. So now we keep going. We keep going. And we keep going. And whoops. Check that out. We've now intersected this point of the timeline again, just on the opposite side of the paper. Interesting. So this core flame has now been claimed a second time before we've completed the cycle. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And now we're back at the beginning again. But see, the point of this is we didn't complete a cycle around the Mobius strip until we'd intersected with this point in time twice. Here's something else interesting. I'm gonna grab a flashlight real quick because I need to show you this with the flashlight. My flashlight is really freaking bright, but 50% of the Mobius strip's surface area is always facing the light when there's a light shining at it, and 50% of it is always in shadow, just like a sphere, just like day and night.
Are you seeing what I'm saying? This isn't a chicken and egg situation where the cycle just goes back indefinitely. There are only two sets of titans, one set for the day and the other for the night. For Nikador, we have Nias and Mighty. For Circes, we have Calypso and Anaxagoras. In the next era, Anaxa will be the titan, and Calypso will claim it from him. Then in the era after that, which is actually the current era, Calypso will be / is the titan, and the events of 3.2 unfold. Unfolded? Will unfold? I need a new tense for this. Past, present, and future don't apply here, and it's messing with me. A day is made up of 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. You have to go through the cycle of 12 twice to make one full day. Basically, Amphoreus
is like an enormous clock. Yes, precisely.
This means that Amphoreus' timeline is a complete circle. It's a time loop. But how does this trap a Lord Ravager? So, little not so secret, I actually hate time travel media. I had a very public aneurysm over Avengers Endgame.
Time travel!
The movie that started this distaste for me is called Somewhere in Time, and if you've seen it, it's specifically that dang pocket watch. In this movie, a man is visited by a mysterious old woman who gives him a pocket watch and then dies. The man is intrigued by the watch and gets the idea that, hey, I'm gonna go back in time and ask her about this watch because I can't find any answers here. And he time travels back via hypnosis, because that happens, meets her when she's younger and gives the pocket watch back to her. He accidentally ends up back in the present day, having left the watch behind, but she keeps the watch until she grows old, meets him in the future, and gives it to him at the beginning of the movie.
Come back to me.
Here's why I hate this. This is an illustration of the pocket watch's journey through time. She gives it to him here, he brings it back, gives it to her, she carries it with her, gives it back to him. Where on this timeline is the watch created? How did it come into being? What happens when normal wear and tear eventually breaks it? You can pause the video and think it through. Point to the line. When did it happen? Ugh, my brain. The watch is in a time loop and literally cannot exist outside that loop. It just feels like sloppy writing. But then Star Rail came along, took this time travel trope that I have hated with my entire being since I knew enough about time travel to comprehend it. And not only did they fix everything I hated about it, they weaponized it against a Lord Ravager. Pandora's box? More like Pandora's vault. This is freaking genius. This also kind of explains the Black Tide. When I first heard about it, I thought it had something to do with a Stellaron. Honestly, it still might, because a slowly advancing force of nature that turns everything it touches into some flavor of zombie. Amphoreus uses different words, but yeah, that's Stellaron behavior if I've ever seen it. But what if instead of corruption, we think of it more like weak points? If the Lord Ravager is inside Amphoreus trying to get out, then the Black Tide we see might be the places where the prison is starting to break, the places it needs to be strengthened, and that's what the cycle reset does. But more than that, I think the Titans are more than just Titans. They are effectively the chains keeping this Lord Ravager contained, and over time, those chains begin to wear out. This is why having a new person take over the role is so vitally important, because the prison will only stay standing if it keeps being re-strengthened. And when we put it that way, it turns the prophecy, the Demigod Titan cycle, and everything attached to it into a very important cycle to uphold. But the people who pay for this are the hundreds of thousands of people who live on Amphoreus. They're treated like fodder for the machine. As for who in Star Rail could have conceptualized, much less built a prison like this, the best guess seems to be Fuli, Noose, and Nanook. The idea of Nanook fearing one of their own emanators enough to work with the other Eons to imprison them is terrifying, but we've been getting hints that Nanook may not quite be what we were told, so I'm not gonna say it's out of the question. If they pull a fast one on us and say, hey, there are actually 4 Eons here, which is also not out of the question, then I'd say Long the Permanence might also be involved. Cycles of death and rebirth coming full circle are like their entire thing. Either way, if they don't at least allude to Long in Don Hung's stuff coming up, I will genuinely be shocked. But the question still remains, what kind of horrible, uncontainable monster is this kind of prison necessary for?
Men go mad with Washington. There's no discharge in the war.
This could be an entire video of breakdown on its own, so I'm gonna try and keep it brief, but be aware in this section I'm going to gloss over a few things, and it's not because I don't have answers, it's because I don't have time. So by all appearances, the devs have made no attempt to hide the identity of the Lord Ravager, and if you've played other Hoyoverse games, you also know who I'm talking about. It's Phynon. But it's also not that simple because it's not this Phynon, or rather Phynon isn't a complete Ravager. One pre-established way to contain a threat in Star Rail is to break them into pieces. And so it's possible, as one last precaution to keep the Lord Ravager contained, on top of all the freaking time loop stuff, whoever was doing this split the Ravager into 2 separate beings. One is Phynon, and the other is Chaos. One lives in the day half of the cycle, and the other half is in the night. And this is how that that looks on a timeline. Phynon will ascend to Titanhood, live into the next cycle, and recreate the world as the new Kefali. His core flame will eventually be claimed by Chaos, who will live through the end of his cycle and become the Kefali of our cycle. But things shift when the sun goes out. Because I believe Chaos Kefali doesn't just use their core flame to ignite Akima's sun. They actually give the core flame up and begin to operate as a normal human again. That statue of Kefali is still there, but that's not where Chaos is. See, here's the thing about Chaos. When someone takes up the world-bearing core flame, they're taking on the memory of the world. So Chaos didn't just bring his own memories into the world when they became the new Kefali. They also brought the memories of Phynon Kefali with them too. And the weight of that kind of memory and the knowledge that this is a cycle and there is no escape is engraved into their soul. That kind of knowledge is enough to make the sanest man go mad. And that, internet people, is how you get a Flame Reaver. This is Phynon. This is someone with all of Phynon's memories and half of Phynon's soul living inside them. He knows Mighty's weak spot, he smells like Ides Elysiae, he has the same freaking sword, but the better name for him would be Chaos. We are already seeing Phynon deteriorate closer and closer to this. He is not the same happy-go-lucky guy we met at the beginning of 3.0. He is losing himself to the flame chase journey and to his quest to take revenge, because that's the horrible part of all this. My guess is that the Flame Reaver believes if he can claim all the core flames for himself and ascend to Titanhood again, it will be over because he can choose not to recreate the world, and the loop ends. But he is unknowingly completing the cycle by doing this, because if you remember, the Flame Reaver is the monster who destroyed Ides Elysiae, Phynon's hometown, who ripped a core flame out of his childhood best friend's chest and set Phynon on the path to becoming him to begin with. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Going round and round again, there's no escape from Amphoreus, except that there is. Because we met someone who escaped a time loop prison more than a year ago at this point. And this is finally where we come full circle and talk about that little story I told at the beginning. Guys, when's the last time we talked about Acheron? Acheron has been strangely connected to Amphoreus since the beginning. We even saw her in 3.2, and by all rights, this is a place she should have no connection to at all. It has been completely cut off from the rest of the universe for, well, we don't even know when Amphoreus was made from the outside, but given the nature of its timeline, it's been an actual eternity on the inside. I noticed a potential connection in the very first Amphoreus trailer. I saw Lady Hysolins in the trailer and thought she was Acheron. My chat pointed out that Acheron already has a backstory on Izumo, and I was like, yeah, fair enough. But as I was putting together a short about Hysolins, I decided to just go take a look to make sure there weren't any potential connections, and chat, Izumo was a world ruled by 12 sentinels, locked away from the rest of the universe by the Sentinel of the Sky. The Sentinel's power was forged into 12 swords, which were then claimed by humans because they believed they were fighting for a beautiful new tomorrow. Because of a lie, an end that never existed. One by one, the blades were broken and reforged into 2 blades, Origin and End. These 2 blades fought against each other for the future of Izumo, but in the end, the road to salvation does not exist. There is no trace of tomorrow. We pawned everything, all for the destruction of 2 worlds. The 2 blades shattered each other and were reforged into a single blade. Origin and End became naught, day and night forming a black sun. One blood-stained blade, the only thing left by which to remember an entire world. Acheron wasn't supposed to be the one to escape. If you know anything about the wider Hoyoverse lore, you know our Raiden boss and Morime likely has a twin sister. And given the state of Acheron's memories and her status as a guardian of the dead, I don't think it's unreasonable to call her the casteress of her own world. She wasn't supposed to escape. The only reason she did is because she killed the Phynon of her world. She did so with the intention of freeing her world, I'm sure, but in the end, she freed something else, and unleashed it on a galaxy unprepared to fight it. That is what waits for us if we somehow free Amphoreus. I don't know if this is a fight we can win.
And yet...
How do I end after that? Hi everyone, thanks for watching the video. I'm here again. As I write this, it is the 15th of May, so hopefully I can get it out before the update. I really hope you enjoyed, and stop by the channel on the 22nd if you want to watch me play the new update, see my reaction to the Heartbreak, and theorize live. I'm sure there will be a lot to theorize over. There is so much more I want to talk about regarding Amphoreus, especially this simulation theory that I've seen floating around, but I have no time now. So I'm gonna let that wait until after the next update and see what's left to analyze of that. So I'll see you guys before 3.4, I think. But if you want to hear more from me, be sure to turn on notifications so you can see when I upload. I've been doing a lot of shorts lately and have a lot more coming. On that note, 23,000 of you have subscribed, and that is an insane number. I am speechless. Truly, thank you. You guys are making my dreams come true. I want to give a special thank you to my channel members too. You guys know who you are. Just know I see you. You are helping me in ways you will never know. I can't thank you all enough. Little reminder, if you want to support me as a creator and see more of me being very normal about Star Rail and other topics I love, you can also follow my Twitch, my Twitter, and join my Discord. Enjoy the new update, everyone. Until next time, stay safe, stay kind.